and thanks for joining us. Today on Arts 24, we're looking back at the week's arts and culture news, starting with the US and UK premieres of The Devil Wears Prada. 2 decades after the film became a modern classic, its stars reunited on the red carpet for the long-awaited sequel. Meryl Streep, who returns as tyrannical magazine editor Miranda Presley, was joined on the red carpet by fellow A-listers Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt and Stanley Tucci. Naturally, fashion was front and centre for the premiere.
You know, I think that 20 years ago, Annie Sachs was really worried about getting it right. She really wanted to please her boss, and now I think that she wants to be herself.
It's a global icon. A winding road that brings us back together again.
Hello?
Well, look what TJ Maxx dragged in.
Sorry, who is this? Do you know her?
Runway. It's not just a magazine.
And The Devil Wears Prada 2 is out next week. Next, she was a monarch, but she was also a fashion icon in her own right. The UK royal family is marking what would have been Queen Elizabeth's 100th birthday, and King Charles has been paying tribute to his late mother with a visit to the largest ever exhibition of her wardrobe. Charlie James has more about the show called Her Life in Style at the King's Gallery at Buckingham Palace.
From her birth, the late Queen Elizabeth had eyes on her every move and fashion choice. April 21st marks what would have been her 100th birthday, and as part of events marking the occasion, Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla visited an exhibition Monday of the late Queen's influential life displayed through fashion.
I think it was really fascinating for them to see so many historic pieces, obviously pieces from Queen Elizabeth II's early life as a child when she was Princess Elizabeth, and to look at the evolution of her style.
The most comprehensive exhibition of her wardrobe ever mounted, more than 300 pieces are on display, charting Elizabeth's life story. From her christening robe through to her wedding gown and the dress worn at her coronation, which incorporated symbolic emblems from across the entire Commonwealth. And of course, her jewels and signature hats. Her choices didn't just express power and regal dignity, but an awareness that clothing could carry a political and social message.
Her near century was one of remarkable change, and yet, through each passing decade, through every transformation, she remained constant, steadfast, and wholly devoted to the people she served.
Her Majesty's wardrobe was carefully calibrated for visibility. Bright, bold colors ensured she could always be seen by crowds, even from a distance. And she consistently championed British designers, using her global platform to highlight her nation's fashion industry. An extraordinary life traced through her fashion. Queen Elizabeth II, Her Life in Style, runs through mid-October at Buckingham Palace.
An enduring icon. Next, it's being called one of Africa's most exciting literary gatherings, and it's happening in one of the world's most iconic cities. The Marrakesh African Book Festival, known as FLAM, is back for its 4th edition, and this year the theme couldn't feel more urgent, imagining other possibilities. Dozens of writers, poets and thinkers are asking a bold question: what if literature could help us reinvent the world? Well, our correspondent and culture editor for France 24 Arabic, Liana Saleh, is there for us. Liana, hello. Thanks for joining us from Marrakesh. Now tell us about this year's festival.
Hello, Eve. Well, Eve, since its creation in 2023, the Marrakesh African Book Festival has positioned itself as a pan-African platform, bringing together writers, novelists and thinkers from across the continent and its diasporas. This year's edition, as you said, is built around the theme, imagining other possibilities. As at its core, the festival explores imagination as a tool, not just for storytelling, but also for rethinking the present and opening new perspectives in a world marked by uncertainty and rapid change. This ambition actually is reflected in this year's program, which includes more than 50 writers from 20 countries. Let's maybe hear from one of the festival's founders, the novelist and painter Mahi Benbin, whom we've talked to earlier on.
It's about an Africa that tells its own story, one that says it has no time to dwell on itself, and that speaks of exile, borders, and language. We are here together as Africans, Africans of the diaspora, people of African descent. We are all here to tell our own stories and no longer wait for others to tell them for us.
And Liana, this edition has attracted some really big names. Haitian novelist Yannick Lahens kicked things off with the opening lecture, and Patrick Chamoiseau from Martinique, one of the French-speaking world's most celebrated writers, is there in a special role as the festival's grand witness. Who else is making this edition unmissable?
Well, the lineup brings together major contemporary voices, such as the Nigerian novelist Chigozie Obiama, the Senegalese writer Boris Boubacar Diop, another Goncourt laureate, and the French-Senegalese writer David Diop, and the Egyptian writer and poet Iman Mirsal. But beyond these names, Eve, this year's edition actually signals a broader opening towards English language literature, Arabic voices, and voices from the Caribbean. This reflects the festival's desire to rethink of African literature, not as a fixed geography, but as a constellation of languages, histories, geographies, and circulations that extend across continents. Let's hear from some of the authors and guests that we spoke to earlier on.
This is literature that has long been neglected or relegated to subcategories. So celebrating African literature means giving it its rightful place amongst world literature.
What we've come here to do, whether we're female writers, male thinkers, or female thinkers, is to try to sit down together and share and exchange ideas.
It's important to celebrate African literature and that of the diasporas because we do not have access to many media outlets that can do so. But above all, it allows the continent's youth, who also aspire to write, to take ownership of it too, to read the works of people from their own continent, and I would say, to change the way they dream.
So, Liana, how does the festival actually engage with the city of Marrakesh and its audiences?
Well, Flam is designed as a city-wide event that unfolds across Marrakesh in universities, in cultural venues, schools, and public spaces. This approach is meant to reach a broader audience and make literature more accessible to everyone, but also with a special focus on younger generations. This year, the festival also introduced a pop-up bookstore, Les Veilleurs d'Histoire, along with workshops and school programs that aims to encouraging readings and creativity. And the festival also includes initiatives bringing literature to children at the Mother and Child Hospital here in Marrakesh, using storytelling as a tool for connection and creativity.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us, Liana Saleh in Marrakesh. It's been a pleasure. And a reminder, the Flam is on until the 25th of April. Next then, tributes are being paid to one of France's most celebrated film stars, Natalie Baye, whose funeral took place on Friday morning. President Emmanuel Macron said the much-loved stalwart of French cinema had been an actress with whom we loved, dreamed and grew up. Jenny Shin takes a look back at her career.
She was the embodiment of elegance in French cinema. Natalie Baye leaves behind hundreds of films, passing away from a neurodegenerative disease at 77 years of age. Through a career spanning 50 years, she worked with some of France's biggest names. Alain Delon, Gérard Depardieu,
C'est le genre de truc qui doit marcher le samedi soir avec les boudins que vous draguez.
Even joining forces with Hollywood's Steven Spielberg for his film Catch Me If You Can, playing the mother of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sorry to have to tell you, your son is forging checks.
I have a payroll check here and like to cash.
I'm working part-time at the church now. Just tell me how much yours and I'll pay you back.
$1.3 million.
I never dreamed of being famous or anything like that. My only dream was to be able to do what I love and be free.
Born into a modest family of artists, she began her career as a dancer before turning to acting. She gained fame and popularity through her projects, starting with a breakout role in 1973. She played alongside François Truffaut in the comedy Day for Night Fresh Out of Drama School, a film that won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film. She then went on to build her career and become one of France's most decorated stars, winning 4 César Awards, 2 of which for Best Actress, notably for her role as a prostitute in La Balance, the movie that introduced her to Philippe Léotard, her co-star and first great love.
Salut, ma jolie.
The second most important man in her life was none other than singer Johnny Hallyday. The pair fell in love on television
J'ai si souvent pensé à toi.
and eventually starred on the silver screen together.
À vous autres, hommes faibles et merveilleux, qui mettez tant de grâce à vous retirer du jeu.
Their daughter Laura Smet followed in her mother's footsteps. Natalie Baye's choice of projects was always dictated by passion. For many, it's what made her career rich, as it is unique.
Natalie Baye, who passed away last week. Well, we'll leave you then with images from the world-renowned burlesque performer and modern-day queen of vintage glamour, Dita Von Teese. Her latest creation, Nocturnelle, is an enchanting blend of retro Hollywood glamour and magic, showing at the Folies Bergère in Paris this weekend. Thanks for watching. See you next time.